You're watching Any Given Thursday. It's Harrison Graham and Chase Sr. with you. We don't go a full Any Given Thursday live show without talking a little college football, so let's keep the theme going of a potential job opening. That is the Florida Gators' Dan Mullen, Chase. This thing has fallen apart quickly after a very promising start to his tenure. Florida's lost 3 straight, 4 of 5 overall, and that's really been exclamated by a 40-17 embarrassing loss to South Carolina last week, Chase. It has been wild. And by the way, Mullen had to fire the defensive coordinator and offensive line coach. This team almost beat Alabama this year.
Yeah.
And now they're 4-5, and this job could be open here in a couple weeks. Wild how quickly this has happened.
Couple things here. It's been a precipitous drop for Dan Mullen. I thought he got off to a really good start as the head coach of the Florida Gators, but with a program like this in the conference that you're in the SEC, that pressure can be turned up very, very quickly. Yes. I love the development and the work that he's done with quarterbacks throughout his career, Dak Prescott, Kyle Trask, but when you fire some of your coordinators and assistant coaches, it reeks of desperation, and it reeks of the pressure being on that head coach to make some changes because he feels that the heat is on and his job is on the line.
And while the offense has improved under Mullen, which was the goal, they did not anticipate the defense falling off a cliff.
No.
And historically, Florida has been an elite defense. Tons of NFL draft picks over the years, lots of good talent. Fundamentally sound. I mean, I go back to last year. Remember when Marco Wilson throws the cleat at a player against LSU last year, which cost him a game? They've lost discipline under Mullen. There's also been rumblings too here, Chase, that he would bolt for the NFL if given the opportunity. I don't think he's that excited about having this job right now. And if that's the case, I think you have to seriously consider firing Dan Mullen. And you're Florida. You can do better than 4-5. Like, this is unacceptable.
Yeah, no, it's unacceptable, and the wins have to come at some point, and you have to string together consistent winning seasons. And while he's been able to bring in good recruits, as I talked about, I like the work that he's done with developing quarterbacks in every stop that he's been at.
Yep.
No, he can't do anything about one of his premium prospects hurting his knee doing some dumbass dance, but it's been an undisciplined team and an inconsistent and erratic team as well.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson still trying to recover from that one. Should Florida fire Dan Mullen? We'll make this the pinned comment on today's video. Type Y for yes, type N for no. If you get hit with the YouTube ad break, scroll on down and answer this question. All right, 10 candidates to replace Mullen at Florida if he gets canned. How about Bob Stoops, the former Oklahoma coach? Now, this is kind of the classic addition by yours truly here of, hey, Bob Stoops, premium program opens up. He's at least like on the list, right? I'll put him at number 10. Call him, make him say no.
How is he going to go off being live TV, having the cushiest gig ever, making really good money? He's already succeeded in his coaching career, and then he has to go to the rigors in the swamp of Florida where he knows for a fact the pressure is going to be up and on from the get-go. Now, producer Sam Brown went to Oklahoma. He's interacted with Bob Stoops at times. He has some thoughts and some takes about Bob Stoops getting back into the coaching game. Let's hear it, Sam.
I'm fixing my camera real quick.
Oh, let's do it on the floor.
Yeah, I was waiting to hold this take until the show, Harrison. To be honest, I think you're wasting a space on this list, putting Bob Stoops on there.
Was I influenced?
He's got the cushiest gig.
Was I influenced by Coop Cup? Yes, but
probably, yeah.
It's the classic.
And falsely so.
Hey,
I don't know
let's
why
get him on the
be.
list. Get a little SEO juice going.
Sure,
Stoops and Coop.
but sure, I get I see the Florida
Coop
tie. Yes, Oklahoma hired him from Florida whenever he was the DC to become their head coach, and the rest of his history. But you saw that video a while back from the Red River rivalry of him just like cheering on, like going nuts, like on the Fox broadcast watching.
Look, he loves Oklahoma. There's no doubt about it.
There's so many ties he's built there over the course of 16, 17 years. It's hard to picture him anywhere else. It's almost like that generation's Bobby Bowden almost, where you just don't see him going anywhere else.
It would be weird, but if he gets the itch to coach again, it's not going to be at Oklahoma. Unless Lincoln Riley leaves. So a job like Florida where he's been at, it's like, okay, I'll throw him at number 10. Let's get that SEO juice popping. Number 9, Joe Brady. I think Bob Stoops gets searched more than Dave Aranda, who I left off this list, although he's done a good job at Baylor. Chase, I'd love to know where you're at with Brady, because for me, has his stock dipped? I mean, I know he's still a promising young mind, and he could be in the mix for some NFL coaching jobs. Maybe LSU is interested, but things have fallen quickly for Carolina this year. They just had to bring back Cam Newton because Sam Darnold was playing so bad and got injured. I'm not saying I don't think he's a good coach. I'm not saying he can't be a good college head coach, but look, 2 months ago, he would have been in my top 5 for this job. I've got him at number 9 right now. Like, I think there's better candidates out there.
With all discussions, I think we have a problem in America right now with taking a way too singular focus while not factoring in that multiple things can be true at the same time. For instance, what Joe Brady did in 2019 at LSU with Joe Burrow was fantastic, and Ed Orgeron is going to be out because he couldn't replace Joe Brady. It was magical what they had that offense do. And while the offense with Carolina the last 2 years really has been lackluster, he's worked with Teddy Bridgewater and Sam Darnold. Now, I want to see what he does if he has to coach P.J. Walker, Temple great. Shout out to the greatest university on the planet. Great football program, by the way. Just kidding. What he can do with a guy like P.J. Walker, and maybe what he can do with a guy like Cam Newton. So I'm not sure that Joe Brady's stock has fallen. Has it gone down maybe a little bit? Yes, but I think that's a byproduct of the quarterbacks he's had because they ain't Joe Burrow, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and look, a guy I'm really high on is Jeff Hafley here. I think he wants the Ohio State job long term. That's the job he would like to have, but
him and Luke Fickle.
Listen, I think Hafley's a program builder. I think he's a culture guy. I think what he's done at Boston College, if I forget the guy's name, Furkovich or whatever, Jerkovich, the quarterback they have, had he not gotten hurt, they might have won the ACC in a bad ACC this year. I think there's a real opportunity that could have happened. I like what he's done at BC. He's almost beaten Clemson a couple of times now, not just this year with Clemson being bad. He almost beat him last year as well.
Yeah.
I like him a lot. I don't know if this is the fit for him deep down in the swamp in Florida, but at one of these points, I think Hafley's going to get one of these major Power 5 jobs. Maybe, just maybe, Florida is that opportunity. How about a more realistic Stoops?
Another Stoops.
Mark Stoops. Now, I know Kentucky's fallen. They've lost 3 in a row. But still, guys, I can't emphasize this enough. This is Kentucky, okay? They started 6 or 7-0. He's beaten Florida multiple times, by the way, in which Chase – Florida lost to beat Kentucky like 31 times in a row before like 4 years ago.
That's impressive.
And Stoops has beaten them twice now. Like, that's doing something if you're Mark Stoops. Now, there's been a lot of chatter, and we've talked about this. Is Mark Stoops a guy that is good at maximizing like 2- and 3-star talent? Like, would he fit at a blue blood program? I think that's up for debate.
Can he recruit at a blue blood, too?
That as well. I will say he's been in the SEC East at Kentucky. He started to recruit a little bit better and better. Now, this is a whole different animal down at Florida. If you're bad for 2 or 3 years, they'll just run you out of town. But I think it's interesting, man. I will say if you're Mark Stoops, you'll never get fired at Kentucky.
No.
Like, you'll never get fired at Kentucky. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Pick a Stoops. B for Bob, M for Mark. Obviously, if you could get Bob, that's who you want, right?
Yeah, I'd take Bob over Mark.
Even after
Big game Bob.
Big game Bob, but then he became little game Bob late in his OU tenure. That's why they moved to Lincoln Riley.
Irrelevant.
The real ones won't admit it, but they ran Bob Stoops out of town, so Lincoln Riley could be the head coach. People don't admit it, but it's a fact. Number 6, James Franklin, a guy that you know have covered very closely at times, Chase. It's kind of weird where he fits in all these coaching searches now because I think he's in the mix for all of them, but will he get any of them?
I think he has. I think he's in the mix for a lot of these prime head coaching gigs. And look, with James Franklin, I just think his time at Penn State is coming to a close. I think he wants to move on, and Penn State kind of wants to move on from him. Now, if they go out there this weekend and they take down Michigan, maybe that conversation changes a bit. But if James Franklin were to go to Florida, he's going to be an elite recruiter. He's going to be able to bring in some of the top prospects across the country. I have some worries about the staff that he's going to be able to put together, but he is used to dealing with the pressure of a nationwide program with a massive fan base that is very, very vocal. That's exactly what Florida is. And I think that, if James Franklin were to go to the swamp, I think he'd be able to be successful. I'm just not sure that he's going to go there. I'm more so thinking USC for Franklin.
If I was James Franklin and I got the Florida job, the first hire I would make is Georgia defensive coordinator Dan Mullen, who is the DC at Georgia, but Kirby Smart runs the defense.
Yeah.
You could tell Lenning, hey, you're coming to a job of equal stature just about, and you're going to run the
You're
defense
call
here,
the plays.
and we'll give you a pay raise. I don't know. That'd be interesting, a guy who's balling out in the SEC at Georgia. We got our top 5 candidates coming up, but before we get there, hey, we've got a free jersey giveaway opportunity. All you got to do is get going with our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Go to chatsports.com/bet. Use our promo code CHAT125. You put down $100. That's the minimum for you new BetUS customers. You get $125 for free. Our free jersey giveaway deal only applies to new customers. So once you deposit $100, all you got to do is place a bet on any game for any amount, and then we will hook you guys up with a brand new jersey. Florida fans, we got you covered with the sick Jordan unis. Maybe you're a fan of another team. You can cash in on this deal as well. Email us, jersey@chatsports.com. Have tons of different jerseys available for you guys. You can also get an NFL jersey if you prefer that as well. Jersey@chatsports.com. That is the place to email to take advantage of this deal, but you got to get going with BetUS first, and that is with our link, chatsports.com/bet. Use our promo code CHAT125. All right, another name that continues to get brought up in these searches, Luke Fickle. I'd probably have him a little higher, but I think he'll be a little more picky. I think there's a couple other jobs he might prefer to Florida, but certainly Florida's a better job than Cincinnati. There's no doubt about that.
The Cincinnati slander is just something that I think is absolutely ridiculous. This is a program that basically hasn't lost over the last couple of years, and then people want to drag Cincinnati for playing close games. Are we really expecting, in the craziness of the college football landscape, for 18 to 22-year-olds to dominate on a week-in, week-out basis when they're going up against other teams who also have something to play for? You're not going to blow everybody out on a weekly basis.
Especially this year. Have you guys watched Bama this year?
Dude.
They've been dominant like twice.
Yes.
Okay? They just struggled with LSU. They easily could have lost to Florida. Both those teams might have 2 new coaches. LSU already does. We're talking about Florida today because Dan Mullen might be out. Like, if you're not Georgia, you haven't been dominant. So I don't know why the rules don't apply for certain programs based on past history. It should be about this year. And this year, Cincinnati has one of the best ones in the country with the win at Notre Dame and has run the table for almost 2 years. And by the way, the one game they've lost in the last 2 years was to the number 1 team in the country, Georgia. And they should have beat them. Luke Fickle's a hell of a coach. He's going to have a lot of good opportunities. And that's why we ask you guys this question. Where will he be next season? Give me a prediction. Where's Fickle coaching next year?
I'd like to see Penn State.
Oh, man.
I think he's just such a Big Ten type of coach, but Penn State is my guess.
All right, we'll see how it plays out. Let us know what you guys think. Top 4 as we look at the Dan Mullen replacements here. How about Lane Kiffin? You could just grab a guy in the SEC and bring him down to the swamp. I know you're high on Lane Kiffin.
I love Lane Kiffin, and I don't know that Lane Kiffin wants to be the guy who's just popping around to all these different programs in the SEC. Sure. Tennessee, Ole Miss, Florida, if he decides to take this gig. He certainly knows that state because he went to Ole Miss from Florida. I love Lane Kiffin. I think he's fantastic. I think he's done a great job in rebuilding his image. I'm all in on him for that reason, but also how he has a diversified scheme. Yes, he runs spread concepts, but he'll run it right down your throat if the matchup presents itself in that manner. And I think he can really recruit well because of his ability to just kind of gel and mesh with other players who are some of the top recruits in the country. I know somebody who plays at Ole Miss right now, and they're like, yo, we love Lane. He's the chillest dude, but he's a genius, and we all just get along with him. And he seems like a really, really cool cat. I think he'd really jive well in Florida.
You know what has been the difference in Lane Kiffin? Yes, he's matured, but I think just the landscape has changed so much since he had some of those early failures at Tennessee, at USC, is that it's becoming more of a player's country in terms of sports. You're seeing it in professional leagues, but in colleges as well. Players don't want to play always under these hard-nosed hard asses.
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin feels like another one of the guys, and that's why these players love him. Now, when it's down to business, he's getting down to business, but who's more chill to play for, Lane Kiffin or Dan Mullen? Lane Kiffin, dude. I think he'd do a great job at Florida. Top 3, a guy who's old school, but a guy you'll run through a brick wall for if you've watched Michigan State this year, Mel Tucker. this is the definition of a program and culture builder, Chase.
Yeah, no, he is. And look, the loss to Purdue, it was a trap game, but Purdue went on the road to beat Iowa, and they were, number 2 at that time? And then they come back home after Michigan State had taken down Michigan in a terrific game, and they're able to beat Michigan State at
Caught them
home.
at a good time.
That's a sneaky good program that has beat really good teams over time. Ohio State a couple years ago. Mel Tucker has it all. And you think about Michigan State as a team under Mark D'Antonio, who, their offenses were just so boring.
Yeah.
And they didn't like the scoreboard up. They've been the opposite under Mel Tucker. This offense has been entertaining. The defense has been good. The running back who they have has been one of the best in the country.
Kenneth Walker.
Tells you that Kenneth Walker, he's been putting the team on his back. Mel Tucker can recruit as well. Love what Mel Tucker's doing with the Sparty.
And he was on Georgia's staff when they played for the national championship 3 or 4 years ago, so he knows the SEC landscape very well. Who should be Florida's head coach next season? We got our top 2 to go, but let us know what you guys think down in the comments. Who should be Florida's head coach? And if you still think it's Dan Mullen, then type Dan Mullen. All right, number 2, there's been some chatter that Mario Cristobal would be a top target for Florida if Dan Mullen leaves. Here's why I think that makes sense. Number 1, I think the program has gotten loose under Dan Mullen. There's been a lack of discipline on the football field. I alluded to the Marco Wilson throwing his cleat to draw a personal foul penalty last year in a critical moment that cost him a game. They've been highly penalized. To get blown out by South Carolina is just inexcusable. That would not happen under a guy like Mario Cristobal who, he's old school. He's not a Lane Kiffin type, but like Mel Tucker, he's a culture builder. He's recruited very well. Now, geographical difference from Oregon to Florida, there's no doubt about that. You think Willie Taggart jumping from Oregon to Florida State, that one did not work as well, but I think Mario Cristobal has some different DNA that he could bring down to this Gators program that really has lacked discipline over time, even back with the Urban Meyer days. We'll get to our number 1 candidate in a moment. It all depends on what Florida is looking for, and look, I personally wouldn't love it, but you got to put Urban Meyer number 1, Chase, because they really haven't been elite since he left.
Yeah.
They just haven't.
Some people are just going to get triggered with Urban Meyer being here at number 1. I personally think he could stay with the Jags for a couple of years. Yeah. They have a lot invested in him, and they've done a lot of investing as an organization, practice facility, and all that stuff with Urban Meyer coming on board. But this is a conversation worthy of having because Urban Meyer really took that program to an elite level of success.
2 national championships.
Coming after what Steve Spurrier did, which was really, really hard. A couple of national championships. It's been said that him and his wife love where they're at in Florida. Well, Jacksonville ain't far from Gainesville, right? So him and his wife would still be able to remain in the friendly confines of Florida, and he'd be able to go back to Florida where he is a legend. I'm intrigued by the idea. I don't know if it's realistic, but with Urban Meyer, you never know what's going on in his head.
Answer this question. Should Florida bring back Urban Meyer? Type 1 for yes, 2 for no. And I have a couple quick thoughts on this, and then we'll move on. Number 1, this is a question for Urban Meyer. How much does he value the relationship with Ohio State? Because that's been a talking point for a few years now, is that he may not take another major college job because he loves the connection to Ohio State. That's not. I mean, we saw him during the bye week go hang out in Ohio and grind on some 25-year-old blondes in Ohio with an Ohio State jacket on. Number 2, a question for Florida. Are you willing to bring in a guy who ran the loosest program in the country while he was at Florida with countless arrests, suspensions, Aaron Hernandez on campus for crying out loud? How badly are you willing to win if you are the Florida Gators? They seem pretty desperate. We'll have to wait and see. Should Florida bring back Urban Meyer? Keep that in mind when you answer that question.